Welcome, my brothers. Welcome, sisters. Welcome to our program today on Studio Galaxy 473 in Confer. We always encourage you to subscribe to our program, like our program, share our program. This one is pure politics. We had the first session this morning on agriculture, and now we're dealing with pure politics. And the question is, how populism is sinking NDC. The National Democratic Congress came in on a number of issues that was popular, a number of issues that was controversial. And they presented a package. They well colored, they well presented, and a wave of Grenadians followed them in that direction. They followed the NDC in that direction. But I don't think the NDC is as popular as they was 2 years ago. And it seems to me that that wave of populism is definitely sinking NDC. This morning we have Master Carl with us on the Galaxy Equalizers. And we operate from Studio Galaxy 473 in Confer. We encourage you to participate. The number to call is 536-2558. We like interaction. You don't have to agree with us. You could take issue with us. We welcome it. How populism is sinking the National Democratic Congress. They presented a package to our people in the election campaign. The opposition said it was pie in the sky. People start to bawl, whoa, we, yes. Some people say, come in, you go see. Vini you kai, where? But that could not, NDC was unstoppable. They won 9 of the seats in the election. The last time that happened was in 1976, when all the parties come together, the alliance, under perhaps one of the greatest orators in the Caribbean, Maurice Bishop. Maurice Bishop was able to attract the petty bourgeoisie, the remnant of the plantocracy, the proletariats, and they was successful in winning 6 seats. Eric Gary still won 9. This time, the boom swing, Deacon won 9 seats. And as soon as election done, he was so popular, some people start to say that is the end of NNP. So he get one again. Another one jumped the fence and called Jab to take pictures. It is widely rumored that $160,000 was involved. Free trips to America and other countries. But the reality is stepping in. NDC promises they have made. The pie in the sky syndrome start to come to reality. It has left some of the strongest members of the National Democratic Congress dumbfounded. They are spellbound. They have a paralytic tongue. They are unable to defend the government. And NDC have a history, a genetic history, that whenever they're in crisis, they just panic. And it seems to be the panic start stepping in faster than most could realize. The journalist that is in the pocket, that seems to be in the pocket of the NDC, they seems frustrated. They're unable to ask questions. And yes, when you listen to us, you might say we're in the pocket of NNP. Nothing wrong with that. But there are journalists definitely in Grenada that Deacon praise as being objective. Right now, Deacon Fred, the journalist Fred Deacon. They're like Big Fred and Little Fred.
And point to note, all the journalists' name he mentioned, anytime he appear on any program with them, it's the same questions.
Yeah.
So you know who they in who pocket.
But remember, he encouraged them to send the questions to him.
Yeah.
But Massacre, I think, is Big Fred and Little Fred.
Big Fred and
The
Little
journalists know their reputation is at stake. The professionalism is under scrutiny.
And not so, and maybe because the Prime Minister always talk out who could buy who.
Yes.
So you always have to think maybe they get buy too. And maybe the argument at the date of sale is that they can go hard. Because they might be exposed.
Massacre, that's a funny position to be in. I mean, you deep down, even if they were not bought, because the Prime Minister like to buy people and always speak about it, and speak about beggy and classless and commoners, it appears in the public that they were well bought. So it is not a good position for these journalists to be. They have a professionalism to guard.
And just to take a page out of the Prime Minister's book, when he said, if you see people making strange decisions, and we believe the journalists making strange decisions, maybe we could ask who paying their mortgage.
Yes, because these journalists...
So you can leave it open to us to ask. Yeah. Because nobody don't telling us nothing.
No, we must ask.
Yeah. Now, you start up with the popularity. During the last election campaign, pension payment and permanent work was the most popular discussion held. The opposition as they then were able to garner support from even persons who was not qualified for pension, ordinary people, was still saying they're voting for the pension. And when you pointed out to them, but you don't entitled to pension, it was not appointed by the Public Service Commission, they say, well, my aunt is a teacher, or my son is a police. So they gave reasons why they're voting for pension. After a lot of years of the National Democratic Congress beating up on the I-Manis, your program, the program you say is the best since sliced bread.
The last 100 years.
They were able to tell them much. No matter how all what we say about all you, but we just go make all you permanent with the stroke of a pen. They told the rural constables within the police force, that those with the blue stripe, they say, watch, as soon as we win, we go make all you permanent, so all you go be able to get pension under the 1958 legislation. All these issues made the National Democratic Congress very popular with the voters last election. Fast forward to 2.5 years, the question is, those promises that made the NDC popular, what has become of those promises? And that is the crux of the matter, senior. Now, let me start with the RCs. This week, they say the Prime Minister met with the RCs and he didn't have nothing to offer than telling them we go take 3% of your salary. Now, we must draw a parallel between this new pension scheme, I like to call it Pension Disqualification Act. And you see, we have to mirror this thing because the National Democratic Congress has proven to the nation they're in love with everything that happened in the revolution. As a matter of fact, they try to make a hero's day for one man. They fight to put the face on the $50 bill. When we say it wasn't legal tender, they say the people in the North don't know legal tender. All that was done. But let me backtrack a bit because we must, before you know where you're going, senior, you must know where you come out. Because if you don't know where you come out, you have a problem. The revolution came and the constitution was suspended. Yeah, NIS was substituted for pension. The narrative then was, we don't want to only cater for public servants, we want to cater for all workers. So hence, all workers, it became mandatory that you pay NIS. And 500 contributions, which would take you 10 years, was the qualifying thing for you to get full pension. Any added years, you get something a little more. But you always say that persons here, most persons, is in poverty because under $3,000, the income tax threshold, once you don't work in for that, you're living in poverty, hand to mouth, as they say. Now, you're getting 30% of the insurable earnings. But we know bright. But we speak to people who know a little maths. So 30% of the insurable earning, 500 contribution, 30% off $3,000.
Hmm?
30% of $3,000.
That's about 900.
Yeah, about 900.
$900.
All right. And so you recognize how much money persons getting under the national insurance scheme.
If you're working for $3,000, 30% of that is 900.
Yes.
If you're working for $2,000,
Yeah.
30% of that is 600. If you're working for $1,000, and there are a lot of people making $1,000, 30% of that is $300.
So yeah, so let me leave those figures there. And what is your contribution? How much percent to contribution to NIS senior?
You have to make 500 contributions.
Yeah, 500.
When NIS started, it started with 9%.
Yes.
The worker pay 4%,
Yeah.
and the employer pay 5%. 5 and 4, the last time I checked, is 9%.
All right, so and you hear the figures with NIS, what you're getting.
Yes, 30%.
So with the new scheme, you're contributing 3% Igwe. 3%.
And the employer,
Well, we don't know.
3%. This new scheme is a Ponzi scheme. It go boss.
You
It
know,
will not succeed for long. And you don't have to be a mathematician or rocket science. But what I encourage people, ask mathematicians, ask the teachers. If NIS started in 1983 and you had to pay 9%, the actuaries, the bright economists who go and do these things, the actuaries, I think they call them, they said a minimum of 9%. Today, in 2024 and 2025, you're starting a program with 3%. This thing is going to bust. You have a situation where you had the premier, the premier pension scheme in Grenada is NIS. The previous pension scheme that was running parallel with NIS, and it was before, it is only because of technicality that is on the ground today.
But
Because people challenge the constitutionality.
well, listen, senior. But those people, the Prime Minister going about and say the scheme would be beneficial for them, though working for more than $1,500. 3% of $1,500, senior. You bright, I don't.
This thing is embarrassing.
Yeah, it is.
3% of $1,500 get.
Well, that is 3% of
15 trees, maybe $45.
well, I don't. I'm just saying
$45
where you want
a month. So
3,
12 by 45.
12 by 45 is 540.
but this thing is not.
So 540 a year, senior.
540 a year.
If you work for 10 years,
you see,
you understand? It's just
Normally-
5. So how it is beneficial? How?
gonna bust. The system is going to bust.
And then the NDC have a track record of putting people on board. What does do all kind of art
Shambles.
and nonsense? They just jackass the thing.
And when we
Like what they do in GDB and other places.
yes, when we speak,
And lot too.
when we speak, we
So
want
when
to
they
give
take the
example.
people money, what go happen, senior?
It's a cash cow they have there.
Because they go take the people money, rest assured.
They go trick. The
And
politicians.
what hold me by the eyeball, senior, was the fact that they made no room for the contribution of the opposition forces in this country. So if you get 28,000 votes, let me say 30,000 votes, and the voting population is 64,000, so 34,000 persons, you don't include them.
But they didn't bother with the union too.
You don't bother with the union, you don't have no consultation. When you pass the bill, you go in and talk to people.
Were there any conversation with the private sector?
Yes.
Did the private sector claim they was involved? I don't hear the private sector claiming that they was involved. Did the Farmers Association involved in the consultation? This issue,
So we're talking about favor. So if you say, you tell all workers, 1, we go make you permanent. 2, they say they paying pension, they beat up on the last administration for not paying pension. But how boldface and shameless this Congress is to bring a scheme which is less favorable for workers, the same workers that make you prominent, popular when you spoke of your promises. So, off the bat, because you have to contribute, it is less favorable already, seen it. So, it's not a plus for the workers. So, why are you telling the workers in election time, we say we go pay, we don't care if we have to borrow money. No, we don't want to borrow money because they say it could bankrupt the country. The same thing the last administration is saying. Added to the fact that one of the main contention with the last administration and the unions, because the unions cannot play blameless in this thing.
well, sorry for the union.
The last sticking point that caused the matter to go to court was the matter of gratuity. We don't hear about gratuity again. And then the corporate lawyer expecting challenges. You see what? All the judicial people, they don't have to pay.
It contaminated the judiciary. Deacon contaminated the judiciary. The judiciary should object.
But you
If
don't
they
affect
have
them.
any sense of moral and morality, they have to object. The judiciary cannot accept that and expect to hold a face in the public. They have to object. Because it clearly shows favoritism. And why Deacon is doing it, we have to remember, we mustn't take things in isolation, We're not living in a vacuum. When Deacon was sold to the public, he was sold as a man with deep pockets and contacts. But in discussion with the ordinary man, they said the lawyers and the judiciary supporting him. Deacon expect challenges. And what he did there was an act of bribery. He contaminated. He put contaminants in the judiciary. So the judiciary going to say, well, I am not in the same class. You see the promotion of classism in our country. The judiciary must object. Say, no, this is not fair. You are compromising our integrity. What you offer us, knowingly or unknowingly, is a contaminant. Is a contaminant.
Because they how
a contaminant.
Because the NDC always view the people in the lower income bracket in a particular way,
Stupid, dumb.
So here what happening, This whole pension thing, if we let me break it down so a 9-year-old child could understand. It's like you give a gift to two persons. Let me say a house. You give one and you say you have to pay back for it. And then you give one and say you don't have to give me nothing. And the one you're telling you don't have to give me nothing is the one that's capable of paying back. And the one you're asking to pay back is the one who are not capable.
That's why I always compare him with the butcher of the Congo. You see, we must not take. Sometimes I tell people, your child ain't just turned bad. This child was stealing in the fridge, not obeying. When you ask him to share, he taking the bigger half. You saw this thing in your home, and you condone it. And now the child reached a stage where in the hand of the police. This action by Deacon, and from day one we've been pointing out the trend where it's going. Is the first politician in Grenada. We are hearing so much acts of corruption from.
But here where the thing come more mischievous, senior. They promised to give 5% increase in salaries. Union dues is expected to go up. NIS could go up. And then they're still demanding 3% out of that 5%. How cruel, how more cruel and uncaring could a government be? And when you took all the monies, the $24,000, you take it as allowances without being taxed. Senior, that is the antecedent of the popular NDC, And I dare anyone, and I challenge anyone to call and say otherwise.
But you could call and agree, there's still nothing wrong with that. No matter call it 536-2558, or you could write your post on the YouTube.
You tell the RCs and them,
read it out.
We go join all your service. So I'll go follow under the 1958. Now you're asking them to pay 3%.
That is deception.
And they measly salary.
They can deceive every aspect of our society, except a small group of them. He deceived every group. The unions were shaft and screwed from behind. The unions left. The union end up speechless.
And up to now, they're going and meet people in lieu of the unions.
Well, what the,
You being a union man, senior, speak a little bit on that. I know you have your sad, but
I've always said to people that unions always have to remember that there are people before you who made significant contribution, and then you must have discussion with them. I remember in unions that Gloria Payne Banfield, and this guy Mr. Robinson, and other old stalwarts were called in when major issues had to take place. They call in some individuals who was in union long before to hear what their views and opinions were. I remember once a fly sheet had to put out. They call in one of the stalwart trade union leaders, and at that time a permanent secretary, and she changed the language of the fly sheet. She say, what's wrong with you all? You all are public officers. So I think this group of union leaders was as arrogant as Deacon, and they're paying the price for it. And it's an unfortunate price. This act by Deacon could even be an act to bust unions, a union busting act. And these unions have to recognize that the main source of income is from membership. Many years ago, I'm aware that attempt was made to have people who retired to continue to pay union dues and associated with the union. The intention was not only economical, but the economics of it was significant. Now the union get themselves in a position that their workers would be paying money to a scheme that will bust. This new scheme the Prime Minister initiate would bust. You will be operating three pension schemes side by side for at least 30 plus years. Now the government complained that they cannot contribute to the scheme alone. They have to contribute to the scheme alone. And that is not, some people would argue that that's not correct. Because when you're in negotiation, that is a factor that come up. And it makes union compromise more. Bearing in mind that government is the one that contributing to the pension scheme. The government contributing 6%, I think 6.5% now to NIS. The government initiate another scheme where they will be contributing 3 or 4 or 5%. So why we didn't strengthen NIS and the government contribute 9%? You stick with one premier scheme and government contribute more. You have 2 schemes that you have to contribute to. And you have another one you hope will end in the next 30 to 40 years that you have to continue to pay in entirety. So obviously, this new pension scheme comes from the deceiver. It has not been well thought out. It was lacking consultation with the stakeholders. And this is why we believe that populism
and
would sink the NDC.
Senior is a practical guy and an ordinary guy. And I believe the Prime Minister fully aware of what's going on, because he told us bang does boss. He said the only thing that doesn't boss is susu. So you know this thing go boss. So I support you. But listen this. Let's say a nurse on the new pension scheme has to pay 3% for pension. I think 5% increase in NIS plus other union dues. They give them a 500 as they call an honorarium. An honorarium is for excellent or excel. So what about if they take out the honorarium? You see how they put in the people and them in a precarious position? And then we talk about statutarization. So these people are anti-workers. You know? And that is the reality of the situation we're dealing with. We don't manufacture in that information for ourselves. And that is the information out there. And as you say, the doctor of journalism, the photogenic one, and them would never ask those questions. And that is the crux of the matter. That is why you hear me so vocal about the thing. It puts workers in a worst of position, and the Constitution spoke to something and say you shouldn't be placed in a worse position.
You shouldn't lose pocket. Whatever system that come ought to be better. But this new system is suspect from day one. But if you don't believe me, I dare you, I challenge you. Ask any manager, any bank, any economist, anybody you believe that have a business. Ask them if this system, as so expressed, would be sustainable.
Because we have example in this region, in the BVI, with a particular scheme, and the same thing happened. And we know you have some unscrupulous persons within the ranks and realm of the National Democratic Congress who would deny the conscience and take money from that scheme for them and their family, practice nepotism with people money. And there's no safeguards. What are the safeguards? If the scheme boss, what is the contingency? What is the contingency, senior, for the workers who have to put their money there by force?
Well, you have the seed program. You go them a little pension under the normally they used to call it
Poor relief.
poor relief, but they stopped calling it poor relief. So the only people who smiling greater now is the judiciary, you know? Because the prime minister continue to contaminate every aspect of our country.
There's something in
Goes
life.
to the judiciary.
There's something in life which people speak to. They say you must pay forward to the universe. And what the prime minister did by this legislation is to pay forward to the judiciary. In case this matter or any other matter with government end up before the same set of people and them, we know the side they're taking already.
Yeah. Otherwise, they would personally lose. But I will call
So
on
you already pay forward with the intent that if we end up before the judiciary, there's one way they go rule because they get paid already.
But I think
And that is a sad situation.
I think they need to object to it. They must let history record. Let history record that the judiciary in Grenada made every attempt not to be contaminated. This favoritism, this making certain that the judiciary don't have to contribute to that scheme that's going to bust is a contaminant. It's a contaminant, and the judiciary should disassociate themselves from the decision. I cannot say you're not involved because Deacon has sold himself as a man with deep pockets and contacts.
And he knows who he could buy. He was not silent about who could be bought.
You say all people you could buy. You have to have plenty qualification. You have to have plenty qualification. So he's pleased that the judiciary have the necessary academic acumen. But Einstein warned us, don't trust morality in the hands of the high intellects. Albert Einstein, the great Albert Einstein, great thinker. And every day we see these things. The judiciary is supposed to be independent. But here you have a government putting contaminants
Like he put a handcuff on them.
in the judiciary. The judiciary must disassociate themselves with the decision.
They must come out and speak.
Let history record that the judiciary in Grenada disagreed and disassociate themselves. So even if the government continue to give you the money, but history record that you objected and you disassociated yourself with the judiciary. Why is it necessary? Because Deacon sold himself as a man with contacts. It's the first time in the history of politics anywhere on the globe a leader sells himself as having deep pockets. I know of no other country in the world where people enter politics to lead people and they say, I'm rich and I have contact. That seems to be the main qualities.
Another issue I want to raise before we go senior is the small matter of the government, as customary, did not present a national budget. So my curiosity led me to Cap 262B, the Public Finance Management Act. And I just want to read two little sections because we don't bright. We're not lawyers. We're not the judiciary.
Them lawyers losing half the case.
We're not the judiciary. Section 25 says, the minister shall cause to be prepared and laid before the House of Representatives before the commencement of the financial year the annual estimates of government for the financial year. Section 28 says, when the estimates of expenditure other than the expenditures referred to Section 26.1, or you're going to read Section 26.1b, have been approved by the House of Representatives, a bill to be known as the Appropriation Bill shall be introduced to the House of Representatives, providing for the issue from the consolidated fund of the sums necessary to meet the expenditure and the appropriation of those sums under separate votes for several services required to the purpose specified. So what is simply saying there, when you do have a budget, you don't have authority to spend money. So if you're going to take money from the consolidated fund in lieu of that, you're doing something not right. So you see how the judiciary, you see that paying money? Because if somebody take them to court now, the same set of men will get handcuffed, will go to speak to that thing. You see how the guy clever? So he don't do this thing by accident,
And he flaunts the law.
With impunity.
And when we say that, we like to give some examples. Because we open up ourselves, we challenge you to take us on when we speak. The Grenada Development Bank regulation laws was constructed in 1973 under Gary. So all government that come never interfere with these
Section 26.1b said, the annual estimate shall provide for the expenditures that are to be incurred by the government for each service during the financial year and are required to be voted on by Parliament and in relation to any other expenditure vote. So, is the government doing something illegal, Senior?
The government flaunt the law.
It-
You see, you have a
So
government
could you trust
that you trust. So
this bunch of fellas?
they can lie
Well, I
like
don't know, I
when
just
Hash-
asked
you
you.
know, you go trust him. They can lie on everything, you know. Things that people doesn't tell lies on, they can still lie on.
I want somebody who listening, who very close to them, to tell us.
Simple issues Deacon lie on. Deacon said, based upon the information that we're getting from the relevant authorities in Great, that he going on holiday. Next thing you hear, he going on government business.
But when
Simple things.
when the information came out, he was said that he going on holiday to do his
Personal business.
Then like the same trip to Nigeria from
England.
why this
He was going in a disease area
Infested
where the
area.
World Health Organization was warning people the area is infected with disease. Now he got in China again. The world is concerned again of some disease breakout.
He going
in
on there?
China. You didn't listen?
Yeah, he go in China.
Deacon got in China already?
He gonna
They
come
say
back
about
already.
12 of them. You know. It's a big entourage. Deacon doesn't travel with small group. Massive.
everybody had to get a blind. So
12 of them.
So we want to know, based on section 25 and 28, what going on about the authority to spend the money from the consolidated
You
fund.
know what Deacon say when you have power? When he went to St. Lucia and washed the dirty linen in the public and disrespect the elders in his party. What he said? Say they are poor and he used obscenities. You know.
Well, say, excuse the French.
Great as some bad word. In the other days, you see that in front of your parents, you're teaching your mouth to not turn upside down.
So, Senior, what would be your advice to the electorate?
Well, I tell people, in a democratic country like ours, you deserve the government you get. You have to educate yourself and recognize that the National Democratic Congress historically has not been a good government. And it seems that every time they are given a chance by the public, they get worse. Deacon is telling more lies than all other political leaders put together.
He tell more
19th century.
tell more lies in 1 year than all leaders in Grenada. You know.
All leaders put together.
In 1 year, he tell more lies than them. Eh.
Deacon is the first political leader in Grenada that so much acts of corruption has been associated with.
And he saying it's a small place.
Post 1983, Deacon is the only political leader that seems to flaunt the law with impunity.
Dabble in the occult.
Deacon dabbles in their cult.
Lie without compunction.
Deacon go after them poor little Haitian.
He tricked them first. He
Go
set them up.
set them up. And after that, they had a few Haitian in Grenada they was treating very bad, you know. We spoke and then one of them told us that they got to pay because the contractors were not paying them after, and they're afraid. They can't squeak because they feel Deacon might send them back. But after we spoke on the repeatedly on that, the contractor paid them. So Deacon like little children, you know. And he continues. And it seems that he's glad he is the first prime minister in the year to go in China. You think the other prime ministers in the Caribbean stupid? You have an outbreak in China. And when you hear there is an outbreak, it is much more than what you're hearing because these countries cover negative news. China don't have a free press, so they would cover the negative news. What you going in China and do? Now it's time for you to have this massive entourage visiting China. Bearing in mind you was not even in Grenada for the new year. So that is the caliber That is the quality of the leader that we have. And that's why we ask, is populism sinking NDC? You came to power on a wave of popularity. It was considered as pie in the sky. And from day one, the actions taken by the government seems to not be in the interest of the survivability of the government. I have feel a little revolutionary in me this morning. So I'm talking about survivability. The populism. That was the revolutionary word. So we as a people in Grenada, we have to understand that we have to educate ourselves. And when we hear people make these claims, we have to do a little investigation. Even if you don't agree with it, don't dismiss it. Find out if it is true. We have to recognize that the government is doing everything in its power to withhold information. Information is not coming easy. When we get information, we have to make certain the information is sound before we put it out on our program. Because on our program, we want to speak facts. We want to speak the truth. And the NDC have a history of planning lies that deceives the public. That is why we asked the question. NDC came on a wave of popularity.
Yes.
They offered people, remember the truck that had to pick mango? I don't know if the farmers still asking or interested in the truck. Remember the cold storage, massive trucks, over $200,000 a one. That's supposed to go wrong to sell the
white
farmers'
potatoes.
food.
The white potato.
Because there is no need for marketing board again. Remember when Deacon removed the price on condom, he raised the price on sugar and water and gas. And he dropped the price on condom. He dropped the tax
On condom.
on condoms.
And the excuse was with the sugar for health reason, where he was promoting white potato, which is worse. So this guy always believe in the tricking us, you know.
He deceived.
He outsmarting, if he outsmarting the
not
people.
only the people who don't support him, he outsmart even the supporters.
He put his supporters in a bind, you know.
bind.
Right now, the supporters has become mute.
They are paralytic.
They're afraid to speak because they don't know what to say. There was a time they used to try to beat you up and attack you, but now they're even attacking you.
Yeah, they don't
Anytime you talk to them, they say, me, I don't take in part in part.
These are ordinary rustic of nondescript breed. I have some friends on Facebook and social media. Every time you ask them a question, they find shot at you. Say you know, they cannot answer. They're embarrassed. They're ashamed. And Deacon will continue. If he continues, we don't want him continue on that trajectory. We want him to have a change on the road to Damascus. Like how Saul changed. He could change, you know.
A light could shine in the eye, maybe on the way to China
He
or
could
somewhere.
change and he could turn a good prime minister. But the members of the National Democratic Congress, including Mr. Tillman Thomas, have to tell him, don't go down there.
Don't go there, man. Don't
Go there. You know, you have to be 4-1. I always challenge my brother Dennis to make Deacon sit down and explain to him.
But senior, a question I need to ask you. Based on the Constitution, and I heard in an interview in recent times, the Prime Minister was babbling along about the Public Service Commission. One of the to qualify for pension and gratuity, you must be appointed by the Public Service Commission. So going forward, would the Public Service Commission cease to appoint people?
Well, he don't want to cease. The Prime Minister could water down the Public Service Commission very badly. Remember, the public officers and the teachers, they have representative on the Public Service Commission. Can't blame the Prime Minister alone for that. It is true the Prime Minister have 3 members, the government side. But the teachers have 1 and the Public Workers Union have 1.
Well,
So if St.
teachers
Jude...
get paid early.
What did St. Jude is...
St. Jude get Judas and get paid early. So what's all the other unions?
Well, the Public Workers Union have a representative.
Because let me tell you, this whole fracas with the pension thing, the union has to absorb some responsibility. You know?
A big responsibility.
Because they made a kind of fracas about the gratuity. And it is not a gratuity in the true sense of gratuity, it's a forward loan.
It's an advance
They never
payment. It's
educate
a
the
loan
members.
without interest.
They went to the members and tell them the past administration don't want to pay. They never explain the situation to them. Now, apart from not getting gratuity with the scheme now, you have to contribute. So you lose twice. You know. The same workers who was hoodwinked by this administration lose twice.
They was deceived, they was chaffed, and they was screwed from behind.
So I don't see this same set of people continuing to make this administration popular.
It's difficult for the union. The union put themselves in a position where it's extremely difficult for them. These people are not dunce people. These union leaders today is not like union leaders of yesteryear. You know. University graduate, they bright. They were deceived. Then they were shaft. And they could screw them from behind. So right now they are a confused bunch. They don't know what to do. The 2 lawyers that spoke out so far, it was natural for them to speak out. One of them has been active in union and attorney general, and the other one represented the union for a lot of years. But in time to come, they may get quiet. Some unions likely to go broke. The action could be considered as a union.
Senior, what has happened? Because there was a time when the Prime Minister referred to pie in the sky and he said it's pie on your plate. What happened to that plate?
It's pie on some people's plate. Right now it's pie on the judiciary plate. Not everybody. Remember when the NDC come
Yeah, shot is a cheese then.
They gave tax break.
Or the cat and them around him eating all the cheese.
They gave tax break. So anytime the NDC is about 2,000 people here. I don't think it reached 3,000.
I believe so as well.
I always tell people NDC is not a big group. And you don't have to know NDC, you know. And I encourage some members of the NDC to play devil's advocate and criticize NDC. They call you traitor. They say you're stupid, you're dumb.
Somebody
you're classless, you're commoners. I'm sorry for the union leaders. I mean, to be very frank with you. They was deceived. They were chaffed. And they were screwed from behind.
They might regret going and lie that Monsanto on them in the night, no?
The union in a bad position. They were confused.
They got hoodwinked.
And that is when you know leaders from leaders.
Yeah.
They have to bite
Well, that
the
is when you know
bullet.
leaders from ladders.
Yeah. They have to bite the bullet now and deal with the government.
Because the place open like book, you know, senior.
5 minutes left, guys.
Well, we have a few minutes again, and we have the number 536-2558. You can make comment on it.
They could call and decide.
And we are saying that populism, and you see some words we using now, was almost very common in the revolution.
Yeah.
Populism, you know. So the Prime Minister must know better. If he don't, then I am seriously questioning his intelligence. I believe he's more of a good actor. He should be up for an Oscar. He knows better. I want to believe Deacon was in the last 10 in his classroom. He's not one of those top 5. Well, Deacon in his classroom, the teacher perhaps didn't notice Deacon. Maybe he was sitting in the classroom quiet. He's a small student making mischief and passing it on to other people. He might have been doing well in class, but he had been making much mischief and telling lies and putting it on other students. And maybe the teachers never bother with him. He is small and fragile and looking frail, so the teacher perhaps never bother with him. But this individual, I asked the question repeatedly, who sent him? And I always ask, who is the third party that directing our foreign policy? Those issues are fundamental. Because we cannot say we are independent and the Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance, and the Cabinet is not directing our foreign policy. One individual said, I think I saw it somewhere, that the pension issue was a mess and they can make it more mess. We have 3 pension systems running parallel that will be with us for the next 30 years. Government is contributing to all 3 of them. My question is, the NIS was intended by Maurice Bishop to be the premier pension scheme in the country.
Yeah.
Most countries in the Caribbean had similar system from the British. So if the government could contribute to 3 pension scheme, why the government didn't double? Why the government didn't double?
Make NIS more attractive.
Significantly increase their contribution to NIS. So the worker contributing 5%, the government 12%.
Let me tell you why. Because you see, they cannot handle NIS funds as how they could be able to handle this set of money.
That is true.
Because NIS have guardrails, although they do, but you have some level of guardrails in NIS as to the money. That's why it was not placed under the Ministry of Finance.
The Prime Minister have to be stupid twice. This pension scheme with us for the next 30, 40 years.
So get it.
And the Prime Minister is
can
not.
take it
The Prime
in NIS.
Minister. The Prime
They could take it
Minister.
in that new thing.
The Prime Minister may not be with us for long.
State capture senior, go back to that again, is a type of systematic political corruption in which private interests significantly influence a state decision like pension, making the process to their own advantage. State capture. So it goes back to your question, who has captured Grenada? Who is the third party? Whose interest is the Prime Minister serving? That is the crux of the matter, and that is the question. And along the way, some aids or help will tell us to find out who fund the rally and the big fets. And we might get too close to know who is the third party.
And in all fairness, we want to know.
We need to know.
The government is not sharing information. So we want to encourage you, the rank and file person. It doesn't matter whether you're bright or you're not bright. It doesn't matter whether you understand English or not. Ask questions. You could ask teachers that. You could ask any businessman. You could ask economists and managers of department and businesses. The financial contribution of this new pension scheme, do you believe it is sustainable? Or do you think it go bust? Ask them that.
Like how Bang does bosses. He only sues other bosses.
NIS started with 9%. And this new scheme started with 6 or 7%. And the construction of the board of directors seems to be another sham board. Well, I don't bother in much. That is the union. Sorry for them. The most thing I could do is to wish you well and pray for you. And hope that some of you union leaders could bite the bullet You have been deceived, you have been shafted, and you've been screwed from behind. We have a number of issues in this 2025 that we have to deal with. The consequences of us not addressing it would mean that this economy would go into free fall. The government would have to put the tail between the lap and go back in front the International Monetary Fund. And the International Monetary Fund may not be sympathetic to you. They may not be sympathetic to you. And we could bury this country into debt. Government would have to cut social program, raise taxes. The tax threshold today is $3,000. But in some countries it's $1,200. And the National Democratic Congress is known for panicking. When they panic, they just do dumb thing. Cut down Belvedere nutmeg, dig up round the lake, introduce double pension scheme. They can't operate one. Now they're contributing to 3. And that will go on for 30 to 40 years. You know, we have time. As we come to the end of the program, we want to thank you very much for participating. Our programs are short. Generally, we provoke discussion. We encourage you to share our program and subscribe. Thank you very much.